Can you hear me now?
Hey, I can barely hear you. Try again?
How about now?
That's much better.
All right. So
Are you on speakerphone?
we are on speaker. So I'm here with Brian. Are you here with Laurel?
Hey, Brian.
How you doing?
I'm not here with Laurel. I'm here, though.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll let you get started.
All right, so
Okay.
I'm Brian Napack, and I'm looking forward to learning about your business. Why don't I just pass it over to you, and you can give me a thumbnail of what you're doing.
Sure. So I know Blackboard well because I founded eChalk, which is the sort of LMS, CMS in K-12. So while Blackboard was wisely focused on higher ed where there's more money, we were slogging it out in the trenches with a larger market, but a slower one to move. And I saw you guys did a partnership recently with Macmillan, which I would now, knowing your background, would assume you had your fingerprints all over it. So congratulations.
Well, it may or may not have had anything to do with me, but definitely I know those two names, and I'm associated with both of them. So yeah, eChalk I followed modestly throughout that phase. So what are you up to now?
So what I'm up to now, and what sort of came out of the experience with eChalk and also looking at higher ed, is that the ability for people to learn has changed from sort of just the traditional, I go to a school and that's all of my learning, and then I go to another school. And the pathway has changed a lot. So students are now learning from multiple places, and there's a big focus on personalized learning and to learn just in time. And what we saw at eChalk for years was a desire for students to own their record, right? Be able to take it with them, not just from the school standpoint, but to be learning in the ever-increasingly important learning areas outside of school, their clubs, their activities, additional courses, online courses. And so Trovit built the system to allow both the learner to capture, organize, and then share their records and build their network from multiple places. And also for an institution like a school or a camp or things like that to be able to create records and share them and have them validated, or records that the student could hold on to. So not really just transcripts, but really much more focused on the proof of work, which is becoming more important. The papers, the videos, the photos, the music. And what we've done as a result of the accelerator is focus directly on the high school space. As students are entering high school, they are asked to keep track of all the things that they're learning in and out of school. And they're told to keep that in a folder, basically, which none of them do, or very few of them do. So we are focused on helping the 16 million high school students capture and organize and be able to prove later on what they've done via a public profile page, and if they want, a curated portfolio of their work. And where we seem to be getting the most interest are in schools that take and focus on artists, engineers, and athletes. So we've started working both with guidance counselors at high schools, where we have learned that to do it right, you need a ratio of about one guidance counselor to 33 kids. And to what most of the U.S. does is about 1 to 500. And that actually 20% of the schools, high schools in the United States, don't even have a guidance counselor. So we think there's a great opportunity to sell to schools a guidance counselor in your pocket that helps 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th and 12th graders not only capture what they're doing, be able to build a portfolio, but for us to then start leveraging that data so that they can be found by opportunities, universities, scholarships, etc., but also be able to more wisely pick the universities and colleges that they may be entering into. So that's what we do.
Okay, so the last thing you just said confused me. You said help them choose the universities that they want to go to, or something to that effect. I took away from everything before that you were building a SaaS-based portfolio product that allowed students to aggregate their work and share it and curate it as necessary. Did I get that right?
You did get that right.
And so how does it help them decide what school they want to go to?
Well, depending on their interests, their grades, their SAT scores, anything else they enter in, We'll be able to make suggestions based on that of colleges that are within their range, that are likely, or that have programs that they could be interested in.
Okay, that feels more like Naviance or BridgeU or Career Cruising than it does a portfolio tool. Are you equally focused on both of those opportunities, or are you focused on, or is one of them more important than the other?
Yeah, no, we're focused on part one, and we've been talking to Naviance about a partnership, being able to use that data and more easily enter a lot of the information that you already have and push it into Naviance or a like program out there.
Okay. So, are there workflow tools for students and/or guidance counselors with regard to managing the portfolio assembly process and so forth, or is it basically like a, I don't mean to diminish it by saying this, but by a LinkedIn or a Facebook for the students?
Sorry, say the question again. Are there tools to help me manage my portfolio?
No, it's not.
Or is it just a sort of open form like LinkedIn? Is that the question?
No, it's not to manage the portfolio. That I'm stipulating that you're doing. What I'm trying to figure out is if I'm a guidance counselor, and I'm assuming that this is a SaaS-based subscription sold to schools. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So if I'm a school and I bought this for my guidance counselors to use with their students, which I'm assuming is the use case, then they're promoting it to their students. Are there workflow tools built into the product that allow the guidance counselor to manage cohorts of students, see who's done what, message to those students, help those students to share their transcripts, to evaluate who's seen it and who hasn't? Are there workflow tools associated with it as opposed to just a database? And the same question goes for students.
Yeah, no, good question. So we built it for the former, so that you could just add to it. We also built the institution side so that if I'm in your school and you're a teacher and want to share an example of my work or something like that, you could just send it to me, and then I have a verified copy of it in my portfolio. So when I share it to someone, they can see that I actually did it. We have been, as I said, working with this accelerator to narrow our focus on guidance counselors. So we have not yet built those tools. We're gathering the requirements for those tools. Our early understanding is what they would like are not that complicated. Freshman week, the students come in, hey everyone, we now have this tool. We'll be sharing verified records on it. You don't have to use it, but because you can still download the records from us. But it's verified. The school also gets to remain connected, a la LinkedIn, like what you mentioned, so they start building their network. And what the guidance counselors, what we're hearing from them is they would like two basic things. One are sort of an automated reminder based on the student's interests. So as the student sets it up and says, I'm doing this and this and this, us being able to automatically ping that student, remind them, hey, it's been 2 weeks, hey, it's been a week. What one person lovingly called the sort of nag button, or the Fitbit for learning. And then the school guidance counselor themselves would like to be able to sort of check in and get a sense of how complete or how much the student has added sort of by semester. The guidance counselors tend to engage most of these schools in their junior and senior year, the sort of second semester junior year, to help the guidance process. And this would be a big boon for them just to be able to have that information in there and be able to see sort of, okay, we could plug this into Naviance, or we could really start telling your story so that we can apply.
Okay,
Some schools have an additional counselor who's not the guidance counselor, but sort of a grade counselor to check in year to year. So with the ninth graders, how are you doing? Are you on course? And they too would like to be able to sort of get a snapshot of how those students are doing, and then be able to prod electronically or more likely in person with that student. You need to do a little more work and update these things.
I got it. All right, so talk to me about the traction that you have so far.
We're brand new. We built the app and launched it. We have about 400 users on the app for the personal app. And we have launched the MVP of the school system. We're piloting with about 7 schools, all of those except one right now are high schools. And through those schools, we've started working with the guidance counselors to understand their requirements.
Okay.
So we're very early stage.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so I have a really good handle on, I think, what you're trying to do, and
Great.
my reaction to it is that right now it feels like it's more of a product than a company, or even more like a feature than a product. And I say that not because it's not an important idea. It is an important idea, but it's a market that's currently served by one big entrenched competitor with a bunch of little guys trying to take over in the more sort of workflow aspect of this. Speaking, of course, of Naviance, and then the other guys who are trying to go after them. I do think it's an opportunity, but I think you're going to have to broaden the footprint of this product. Otherwise, there's nothing patentable about what you're doing. There's no IP that's defensible. And to me, this is, Naviance is going to expand right into what you're doing if it turns out that you start succeeding. So I think you have to be very cognizant of that. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a little company that you work really, really hard on that ultimately gets out-competed by somebody that, schools have religion about. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think that for me, look, the pathway between high school student and college is one that is grossly inefficient, and Naviance is doing a crap job of serving those, serving the guidance counselors, and more importantly, serving the students as they try to pathway themselves.
Right.
So there is an opportunity, but you have to make sure that you come to market with a broad enough value proposition that people go, oh yeah, right, I'll pay what I'm paying for Naviance for that. And by the way, I may not even need Naviance when if I use this. And right now, the product doesn't feel that substantial to me. It feels very focused. I'm not diminishing it. I'm trying to guide you to a place where I think there is an opportunity, but I think you're going to have to. Well, I've probably said it twice already, so I won't say it again.
No, I do not disagree with you, and I don't take any of that as sort of harsh criticism. I think you're right, and the sort of the dance we're trying to do with Naviance is partner with them more than compete with them at this point. I think that the thing that we are also getting pulled into is if you think Naviance does a bad job of sort of helping the school help the student pick it, and we've talked to students using that. There's a whole world of people who are doing proof of portfolio, proof of work in the sort of engineering, sports, and art. Yeah. And that's even worse. So a lot of the stuff happens actually outside of schools.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to identify and start in that realm where if we can get the coaches and some teams and focus on, a very niche small group to say, not the basketball, baseball, or football, but starting with the smaller ones. It's interesting. We learned a lot about the NCAA rules about recruiting and how it can happen and things like that. So I think a market that's equally underserved are all the things and learning that happens outside the school. We're doing two-pronged. One is we want to sell something to guidance counselors. The guidance counselors have told us, like you just said, the Naviance product sucks. We got to lock these kids down to fill it out. When we talk to the kids, they say, I never touch it during the high school because it's my permanent record, so I'm not sure what to put on that. So they're fearful of it. And we've started to see some schools trying to hack a solution with LinkedIn. The New York Times has written about it and things like that. And that's the wrong solution. That's like, here's my job, like I babysat or it's the wrong solution so far. I agree with you. There's something there. We have not sort of honed in right on that. Our target has been the high school, the transition point that seems to be the most worrisome to parents and schools, and of course the students. But and we will know more when we finish this accelerator, having talked with and signed up with, hopefully, a number of guidance counselors or high schools saying, this is how we would use it and this is what we'll pay for.
Yeah.
and we're not there yet.
Okay, look, you've found a good pain point in the market. You need to build a broader offering. I would say, as much as Naviance is a competitor, Google Docs is a competitor too, or Google Drive. You don't need something in this area unless it's really good. And so I think that having a broader product value proposition than at least the idea that I'm getting of it now is going to help you. And it sounds to me like you're looking for little niches where you can succeed, and that's a good thing in some ways. But it also speaks to a small business idea. So I think if you're going to go through the pain of building a business like you're doing, and take all the risks that you're taking to do it, I would go for something a little more big and audacious, and whether it's take on Naviance or, and I say that as as an investor, why would you, if I'm an investor, why would I invest in this if at the end of the day this is a $10 million company? I want this to be a $100 million company or a $200 million company revenue-wise, and in order to do that, you're going to have to fight some big battles.
Yeah, and that's I think the thing. I love big ideas and I love big markets, and that's what Trovit is focused on. I think rightly the feedback from the accelerator was you're trying to boil the ocean from the get-go. The reality is there is no place where a learner can own all their documents right now. A Google Drive, I can just store documents. None of them are verified. It doesn't build my network. And, I'm at the school. So when I leave the school, then I have to figure out how to move it over to my Google Drive. And then they're just, it's a digital attic. So this is much more of a focused effort to make LinkedIn with verified content and records in it that are kept private, or I can curate a more modern portfolio that I think LinkedIn is lacking for learners.
Look,
student
no
safe,
question,
and
no question that is valuable. But you have a couple different directions you can go in order to make it big. And one, we've talked about one of them already. The other is more of the Parchment angle. I don't know if you followed Parchment. I'm sure you have. Parchment today is about record transfer of high school transcripts, but their vision is much, much bigger, and they have some traction in it to be, I won't try to pitch their business, but more of a clearinghouse for, for a person's data throughout their life cycle. And that's really valuable too, and Naviance doesn't get that, although they're theoretically trying to. So there are a couple different directions you go, and I guess what I'm counseling you to is to be, I don't want you to boil the ocean, but I do want your business idea to be big enough that somebody's going to walk in and say, oh yeah, man, if he gets that one right, this is going to be fun.
That's right. And my thought behind that is, because it's student safe, what happens is you get parents who put their kids on at a pretty young age. And now we've got two people, right? We've got the parent who's trying to learn about how to best educate and build the pathways for their students or their child. You've got the student, then you've got the institution itself. There's a whole bunch of data to be leveraged, but I think the first question is how do we, and what is the best market to enter into to start getting traction? Yep. When we went into elementary, there's some schools that are interested. We want to keep the sort of ongoing record of this. We want the parent and students to have it, but the pain isn't quite high enough until about middle school, and then we see in 7th and 8th grade where parents and students are getting more involved and thinking about competitive high schools, and of course in high school through college. Post-college, there's a company called Degreed that is taking a similar idea. I'm not sure it's the best approach, but they've got a bunch of smart people there to say, okay, how do I show that I'm continuing to learn? I've read this article, I went to this conference, and then, what does that show me? Well, do I get a raise? Does it make my review easier?
Got it.
Does it get me recruited?
Okay,
so we've really focused on the high school, and if we do it right, we can start bleeding into the university space as well. But I think you've exposed your knowledge in this space. I think you're absolutely right that until we both figure out that first step and show some traction, and then paint the larger vision. That's the stage we're at right now.
Exactly. All right, good. I've been given the hook here, so appreciate
Okay.
the time, and I congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, and good luck with it. Hopefully, a little ways down the road, you'll have a couple hundred schools and proof that they're willing to pay, pay for the service, and I do think the opportunities is there for that, and good luck to you.
Great. Well, thank you, and thank you for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.